Welcome to another edition of Magic Gaming Esports Academy webinar series presented by Florida Blue. I'm Kendra Douglas. Today, we have the opportunity to chat with Antoinette Crutchfield, who is the Senior Manager Partnership Sales at Pivot Agency. Antoinette, welcome. And how are you doing? How are the holidays for you?
I'm good. I mean, it's always a whirlwind. I have a 3-year-old, so that makes the holidays even more magical. So it was fun. Her birthday is also in December, so it's just a wild time, but it's fun. It's Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year to you guys. I'm very excited about how the Magic are doing and how the season's going. So yeah, I'm excited to chat today.
Awesome. Yes. And Happy New Year. I cannot believe that it is 2024. Things are sneaking up. Let's go ahead and dive right into just kind of talking a little bit about the role you're in now and just what you're able to do, or just a little bit more about yourself.
Awesome. Well, Pivot, so we are a sales and marketing agency. I work on the property team, specifically on the esports and gaming side. And there are teams like we work with different organizations who hire us to be essentially an extension of their sales team. That's our bread and butter, is having a lot of conversations with brand, educating them on the esports and gaming space and facilitating partnership deals. So that's my role day to day. But we work across different sports as well. We have, women's sports, tennis, pickleball are of some of our other clients. So it's fun. I love Pivot. I've been here for about a year and a half. And before that, I was with you guys with the Magic.
Yeah, you were. And so before we get into that, I thought your history and just kind of how you got into sports was just really cool. You were into softball, right?
Yes, yep. I played softball in college. I'm from a tiny town in New Mexico, and that was my ticket
Mm.
was softball, soft sports, honestly, like opened the door to be here, to be having this conversation about a career in sports as a woman. Softball was my ticket out. I did the JUCO route, so I did a junior college in Arizona, and then got recruited to play at a school in Georgia. And that's where I got my degree in sports management. And I was like, wait, hold up. Like, I can get a degree in sport? Like, what? And it was fairly new at the time. I graduated in 2013 and it was still new. Like, the program was still being built. But there is where I needed an internship to graduate. And NASCAR actually has what they call the NASCAR Diversity Internship Program. And I went big. I went to the big leagues, NBA league office. Like, I was in teams. I'm like, I'm going to go big or go home. Like, it was like I'm shooting for the stars, for shooting for the moon, to land among the stars. But NASCAR, that their diversity internship program allowed me the opportunity to get my foot in the door. I had a phenomenal intern boss, and great group of people there. So it was like a 10-week program, I believe. And this was back 2013, yeah, 10 years ago. Um, and that was my foot in the door. Got to know, I didn't know anything about NASCAR, nothing. Like, I knew about Danica Patrick. That was it. I
There
was
we
a huge
go.
fan. It was this woman in a male dominated industry. I'm like, I like this girl. Who is she? So, but I got to know the sport and I transitioned into a full time role on the partnerships team. So that was my first first job was helping manage the brand relationships, the sponsor relationships,
Mm.
which these brands are spending a lot of money to be, the official beer, which was like Budweiser of NASCAR. So that was good. That was a really good experience. It was a good team of people. Um, so yeah, that was kind of my foot in the door there was through the NDIP program and my teammates through that program. They're doing great across the industry. It's a phenomenal program. And I think all leagues should have something like that in place.
So then walk me through from NASCAR to getting kind of into gaming because you're with Optic Gaming too. So how did you even find that path to get there?
I mean, it's all relationships. Like, honestly, so NASCAR built a ton of great relationships. It's like a family. NASCAR was like this, everyone I worked with was like family, and they're still to this day some of my best friends. So I was there, I was about 6 years in, 5 years in, and then I got a call from someone who had left NASCAR. And we stayed in touch here and there. And every time he was in town, like we would meet up because he actually went to IndyCar. And then after IndyCar, he went to, that's where he joined what was then Infinite, which Optic fell under the Infinite umbrella. And he said, hey, like, I want to hire you to come and help manage these brand relationships. And I'm like, and this was the time where esports and gaming was like all over the news. It was like the hottest time. And I'm like, I wanted to transition over to the NBA. I felt like I did my time in NASCAR, and my next goal was to work in the NBA and transition over to a sales role because I was managing the accounts. I wanted to be on the front line. And so I said, no, I'm not like the kind of gamer you're looking for. Yes, I've gamed growing up. Me and my brother and sister would spend hours just playing video games. Didn't think it would ever turn into the industry it is now.
Right.
And I said, no, like, I'm not an expert. Like, you don't need me. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. And he said, no, we do. We are bringing in big brands that need to be serviced like you're used to servicing them. You roll out the red carpet when they're at the Daytona 500. You know how to talk to them. You know how to send the recaps and everything. We need that in esports and gaming. And I was like, that makes sense. So I could be a huge asset to them. So I interviewed, and I actually really I did not know at the time who I was going to be working for. I didn't know who Optic was.
Yeah.
At all. I went to my first event. So I took the job. I moved to Dallas, Texas. And my first event, it was December. And I wore my green wall stuff. That's the name of the fan base. And everyone was wearing green wall merch. I'm like, who do I work for? And my coworkers are like, you're basically working for the Yankees of esports. I'm like, because everyone was working, and we won that tournament. It was so great. So that's where I kind of got sold on this. Is the numbers are there, the eyeballs are there. Like, it can truly move the needle for a brand. And I saw it firsthand, managing the Pepsis of the world, bringing them into gaming, using Optic Gaming to launch a brand new product, and it just flying off the shelves. Like, I hadn't seen it before. Yes, NASCAR does that. The NASCAR fan base everyone knows about it. They get the fans have their driver's numbers tattooed on them. They have a NASCAR bar tattooed on them. Honestly, and I never thought I would find another audience like the NASCAR audience, like that loyal, that passionate, until I went into esports and gaming. No, that's not to say like the Magic has great fans, but there's something about the NASCAR fan base and the esports audience. They're very picky about, you have to be authentic, organically, talk to us, use our language, and they'll show up for the brands. Like, that's like so cool. So that's kind of what sold me was, but anyways, long story short, it was networking that got me into it. My friend had remembered the work I did in NASCAR, and he said, hey, I want your experience in gaming. So it was just staying in touch. And I mean, networking is key across any industry. Like, you stay in touch, you be a good person. Like, that's kind of what's led me here. Like, I didn't even have to really apply. It was all word of mouth. And even the Magic, like, that's what happened at the Magic, is when I was ready for to get into the NBA after my stint with Optic, I had reached out to my network. I said, hey, like, I want to move over to Orlando. I want to get in the Orlando market. Do you know anyone? And they had known one of my former bosses. He knew some folks at the Magic and was able to give me that warm introduction. And that's how I got my shot there at the Magic. It's really all about networking.
You're so right. Networking is such a big key. I can say the same for my job. Like, the reason how I got into this was networking and knowing the people in the Magic organization. So they knew automatically, like, let's reach out to Kendra and see if she'll want to do this. So it's super important for networking. But how was your time with the Magic, and just what did you grow? Like, what did you learn about yourself in that position, in that role?
So I was transitioning to a full-time sales role, where before I was managing the relationships, doing upsells, like stuff like that. It wasn't, cold outreach. But my boss at the time, she took a shot with me. She said, hey, like, you have what it takes. You're coachable. I'm going to teach you how to do this. I'm going to teach you the skills to succeed in sales. And the team was phenomenal. I mean, you immediately feel like the entire organization's family. I joined right when they had the big all staff meeting where everyone who's new
Oh,
has to
yeah.
stand up, say their name, and you just feel right away like the warm welcome to the Magic family. And I mean, I still feel it like I said, like there a lot of the people there are still my friends, and I like to cheer them on. And I mean, so it was great. Like it was so great, like and learning from I mean, their partnerships team is phenomenal. Everyone within the NBA knows that the Magic service their partners, at the highest level. I mean, it's a testament that they were able to get Kia as naming rights. That was the long-term partner, and they trusted them to, hey, let's put the name on the building. Like that's massive. Like that shows who the Magic are. Like their DNA is just they're good. They activate well. They're just good people. Like I really, really love that team. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. Just it's hard in the sales environment when you transition from um, having an account and being responsible for bringing something to life to go and sourcing a new one where you don't, those people don't know you. When you're sending emails, they don't know who you are. When you're making the phone call, they're like, who are you? Like, I
Mhm.
don't know who you are. Like, don't talk to me. So you just kind of have to like reevaluate, kind of find a new way to evaluate your, not your worth, but like at the end of the day, I sent XYZ, made so many calls. That's a good job well done. If I even got a response, like that's good. It motivates you. You're being motivated in a different way when you transition to a sales role. And it's good for me because I was competitive. Sales is extremely competitive. You have to grind so hard to get brands on the phone,
Right.
to educate them on the opportunity. And then when you close, it's like such an exciting feeling. It's like it is winning a game. It's exciting. So I grew a lot at the Magic. Ford was great. He was. I wish I could have spent more time just working under him. I really liked him as a leader. JT's phenomenal. And then working alongside Gabe to grow Magic Gaming into what it was. I kind of came in, focused on the Orlando Magic, not so much Magic Gaming, but I would find time to spend with Gabe. Like, hey, what are you doing? Like, how can we grow Magic Gaming? Like, what can we do here? So it's cool to see what he's done with
Yeah.
Magic Gaming and that it continues to grow in the space. So yeah.
That's really cool. And like, did you ever think that, you just talked about how you used to play games for hours with your like brothers and so, but like your family, but like, did you ever think that like there would be a role and a bigger opportunity for you to be a part of like the gaming world? Did you ever imagine that this could be where we are today?
Not at all. And still to this day, my family's like, what do you do? Like, you work in gaming? Like, and even when I talk to, my friends and their younger kids who are growing up, they're growing up in this space where they game on their phone, they're constantly watching content creators, influencers on
Hmm.
Twitch, all these things. And they're like, wait, you work in esports and gaming? Do you get to talk to so and so? Do you know all this stuff? And they are so excited to see. I never would have, growing up, I never would have thought that I would be here or that esports would be where it's at. Like if I did, I would probably pursue it a little bit harder
Hmm. Hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
cool. Like it's pretty neat. But no, I never would have imagined working in esports and gaming. And I took a risk. Like I know I took a chance, not a risk. When my friend reached out to me and said, hey, like, I'm so glad I took that because having optic under my belt is
Yeah.
what's given me, an opportunity to like pivot. When Pivot said, hey, when I applied to Pivot, they said, you worked with optic and they're, one of the top teams. And they said, we want your experience. So yeah, I took that chance and led me here. So yeah, it's cool to look back and see how has evolved.
I'm interested to know kind of like the similarities and the difference of working in regular sports and then working in esports. Like, what are some of the similarities you've noticed, and what are some of the different things that you've noticed when going from the Magic to Pivot to Optic? Like, what are some of the similarities and differences?
Um, I mean, so I'll start with the differences. The audience for I've kind of alluded to this. you have to work with the brand very specifically in esports and gaming, because if they show up in a way that kind of turns the gaming fans off, we don't want to do that. Like, especially me and like my coworkers at Pivot, you have to work harder to make sure it's authentic. And especially at Optic, when we were at Optic, we made sure we included the content creators and the players in a lot of the decisions, because we wanted their input. They're the voice that's going to be telling the brand story. So we made sure their ideas, hey, they know their audience better than I did. Like, I didn't know how their audience responds to their content. I obviously saw it as a third party watching their content. But they were the experts. They knew how to speak to their fans, what resonated with them. So we were able to tap into, their expertise and then take it to the brand and say, hey, we think this works best. Like when we did the Pepsi announcement with Optic, the creators and the professional esports players, they said we need to announce this before Pepsi announces it. Because if
Mm.
our fans find out through a third party, they're going to be upset with us. So we had to go and get Pepsi's approval to share this big announcement about a brand new product before Pepsi did it. They gave
That's
us a
interesting.
30-minute window. I know, but it was so important for Optic and their fans to get this approved, because they wanted their fans to, one, like the product. They said, if you want this to be successful, they need to hear it from our mouth first, the content
Mm.
creator. And so Pepsi trusted Optic and it went phenomenal. And I was like, oh my gosh, we need to trust them more. So that's different. Traditional sports, you don't get the access to the players like
Mm.
that. It's very hard to get access to a player. You have to go and do a contract with that player. So esports and gaming was different at that time. I mean, it's continuing to evolve. Esports and gaming, maybe it does evolve into where you eventually have to. A lot of brands are going directly to players instead of through a team. But when I, when I was at Optic, if you paid Optic Gaming, you're getting access to the players.
Mm.
You get to use, their likeness, their image for promotion. So that was the difference. That was a big difference. And then it's very content heavy. It's relying 100%, almost 100% on the content they put out. It's important to put content every day. Their fans are just wanting more and more and more. Twitter was huge for them. Um, NBA, NASCAR are obviously a live attended event. So you want to
Right.
go to that. Yes, you can watch it on TV, but a lot of the experience is going to watch in person, especially at NASCAR race. I can't watch NASCAR on TV, but if I go to an event, it's fun. Like, I understand it. Um, so that's a big difference too, between the two, traditional sports and esports and gaming. But there's actually a lot. But those are
Like,
some of the
we
main
can go
differences.
on.
Yeah, we can go on and on. And the similarities, I mean, it's the fan base. Like, at the end of the day, and especially in my role where I sit with partnerships, we're constantly talking to brands and educating them on the opportunity for sports, partnerships, sponsorships. And at the end of the day, it's about the fan base. So, the Magic have a phenomenal fan base. NASCAR has a passionate fan base. Gaming has a avid fan base. So it all depends on who the brand is trying to reach. Are they trying to reach younger audience? Are they trying to target older? Um, so different areas of the country, the world, etc. Esports is truly global. Like, the fans are around the world, different time zones.
Mhm.
So you can talk to a lot of different people in different areas of the world at once. Where, not to say you can't do that with NBA or NASCAR, but it is, you
It's a
know,
little harder.
it is, yeah. So just the content part of it is different. But the
And then
fan base, like reaching the
yeah.
fans and eyeballs, that's similar. You're obviously just trying to get in front of those fans.
Yeah, and then talk about the diversity aspect of things for you and just breaking into the sports world. I know for me, it was hard. It's hard as a woman to break into sports in general. Kind of walk us through just the barriers and what you were able to go through and just the things that, you can pat yourself on the back and be like, I'm doing this.
Yeah. You have to find out your allies. Like you really do. And I think that's what helped me was the person who hired me. Um, he believed in me, and he also believed in the vision of making it a more diverse sport through NASCAR. So he hired, a Hispanic woman, and from there, I just found different mentors, and he pushed me out of my comfort zone. Like I was very, as an athlete, I'm just like head down. I was a pitcher, so very much like it's not individual by any means, but I knew what I needed to do as a pitcher, work on things individually, perfect my craft. So I was a little like head down, one on one with my coach. And when I got hired in that internship role, he pushed me out of my comfort zone. He said, "Hey, you need to meet with every executive for 15 minutes." I'm like, I'm a little intern. You want me to ask the president of NASCAR for 15 minutes? He's like,
Right.
"Yeah, you're gonna go do it." And he pushed me out of my comfort zone. And if I didn't do that, like I wouldn't have the experience I have now. So he was an ally. He pushed me out of my comfort zone. He vouched for me when I was ready for my next full-time role. He said, "Hey, no, he saw my work ethic and said she's a good fit for that role." And then under that new role, I reported to a woman, and she was about 10 years older than me, and she believed in me. So you kind of have to find those people who want to, be in your corner. And I had a
Mhm.
lot of people in my corner that helped me. Sometimes you won't have that, like, not to say I don't have that right now, but I am now old enough and like, 10 years into my career where I'm going to do that for younger girls. Like there's a girl on my team and I'm like, I want her under me to, I want to teach her what I've learned in my last 10 years. Cause yeah, it's kind of like, if I don't, from my perspective, I needed a woman to help me and hold my hand,
Yeah.
not hold my hand, but like, hey, I believe in you. You need to speak up. Don't let, and I have, I don't want this to sound like guys are only for guys because I have a lot of great guy friends that were allies, but it's
Yeah.
different in the sports world. They are going to be very much not for themselves, but like they have this goal in mind. Women, I just had a lot of women who have helped me, like, hey, you need to speak up. You need to do this. You need to do that. And they coached me, and I'm like, okay. And then I became more proactive and confident. It gave me confidence to be able to
Mhm.
stand on my own without needing to feel like I have to have a woman validate me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So now I want to be the one to validate others. Like, hey, you're good enough. You have what it takes. I know this is your first job in sales. It sucks. It's hard, but I
Yeah.
believe in you and you got to grind to get through it. And that's what I want to tell those younger women and that girl on my team. I'm like, it's hard right now. No, you're probably not even believing in yourself because I didn't believe in myself at the time. I'm like, do I deserve to be here? I don't deserve a seat at the table. And the other girls are like, no, you do. So sit down. And so
Ah,
now I'm like, okay, no, you do sit down. And I'm going to sit down whether anyone tells me to sit down or not. Like, I'm going to be there. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. But,
I
and
love
it's
that. I
exciting to
love that
see
for
like
you.
women, it's exciting to see now like women continuing to grow in the sports world. One of the clients we have is Athletes Unlimited, and it's women's sports new league, and I'm passionate about working and helping them. Um, so yeah, it's like a new energy. Like I'm like, okay, like I want to find brands who want to fuel this movement of supporting women's sports.
That's amazing though. Like that's such a good feeling to have and to be able to be a part of that. I know for me, getting into the industry, it is very male dominated too. And so I was always trying to find women who can like help me. And I told myself
Mhm.
like when I get to a point where other girls look up to me, I'm giving them all my time of day. I'm
Yes.
giving them whatever they need because I know how hard it is to just be in this sports world. So for you to be able to kind of say like, I will give you a seat at the table and make sure you understand things. It's cool to know that like you're probably paving a way and you're making other women feel like I can be in this world too. And that's got to be
Mhm.
such a good feeling to feel.
It is, and especially on the sales side too. I see more women transitioning over to sales, and I get excited.
Mhm.
Because this is commission. You get big commission. Like we want a piece of that pie too. As a woman, like I
Yeah.
can go and sell. I can listen and understand like the process. And so it's exciting to see these women transition over to a sales role. And in the NBA specifically at the Magic, there was a phenomenal group of women sellers who put together a group across the league just to network, just to talk. Hey, how are you doing? How is it? How are you at the Magic? How are you at the Pelicans? Different perspectives with women across the industry. And since I've left the NBA and the Magic, I still follow them on LinkedIn and socials, and
Mhm.
they have a great network that and I see their deals continuing to close, and I'm like, go you! Like, it's exciting to see these women close big deals. Like, I love to see it.
That's awesome. So now that you're you've been able to see the best of both worlds pretty much, where do you see the future of gaming and just kind of how should it expand? And you talk about women, like how can women be more involved and just where do you see the future of the gaming industry?
Yeah. I mean, it's continuing to grow. There's pain points in growing. I think 2023 was a hard year for everyone across the board from what we heard. It was just a tough year. We were able to get some deals done for our clients, which was exciting to see, even within where the market was at. But I think it's just going to continue to evolve to a better model.
Mhm.
Um, there are so many. It's still kind of the wild, wild west. Like, there's not a formal structure to every single esport. Every single esport's so different. 2K operates entirely different, has a different, support structure, like from the NBA, than a Call of Duty, than Overwatch, which is, they're going through their own pain points right now. But I don't think it's going away whatsoever. I think it's just going to continue to evolve into a better model for the organizations, on the esports side specifically, the competitive side. I think the gaming side in general is just going to continue to explode. You still see brands spending big dollars to reach these influencers, and spend directly with content creators. So that's going to continue to grow. And that's what we've seen from our side is brands are a little hesitant to spend on the esports, professional team side, but they want the content creators. So we'll go and we'll broker a content creator deal, um, and just wait until the esports scene kind of figures it out, or like a team. We did sign a big team deal, which was, I mean, and this team is doing really well. So the brand trusted that this team is going to continue to live on and do good for this brand. The reaches, the numbers are there. Like, at the end of the day, the numbers are there. People are consuming their content. So we just have to continue to educate these brands, get them to trust our process, or not ours, but like that the orgs are going to activate their brand in the right way. So
Mhm.
it's going to continue to grow. On the esports side, gaming will just, obviously, the creators are still, spending money. It's still going good for them on that side.
Yeah. Was there anything in your past experiences that sometimes unexpectedly help us where we are now? So, like, was there anything that you learned from your JUCO time or like softball time that has helped you succeed in your job now? I know for me, for example, I was a track athlete, so I just have this competitive mindset 24/7. Like, I just gotta
Mhm.
like. I'm always like on a race. Like
Yeah.
everything's just going to be different. So, was there anything that kind of like unexpectedly helped you in your career to where you are now?
I mean, I think just being an athlete, like you said, is you're competitive, and you're also set for to be like very disciplined with your time.
Yeah.
And that's helped me is, and especially a remote worker. Have a remote role. My company's based in California, but I'm East Coast. So based in Orlando, Florida still. Um, but you still have this internal, kind of clock that you wake up. You got to get your job done. Like, when you're a college athlete, you have 5 a.m. workouts. You go straight to class, 8 a.m. to noon. You go to straight to practice. As a pitcher, I had to report early. I had to pitch before we got into practice. And then
Mhm.
we have, study hall. And it's just like this, a schedule that you're used to. And it was just, you're ingrained. And you're also being coached. So the fact that you can take criticism, constructive criticism was key to my career. Like, if I wasn't doing something right, it's almost like I want to be, tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I don't know.
Yes.
Like, I need a third party to look at me and say, hey, you're not setting up your time right. Here, you should try this. And I will absolutely do it. As an athlete, you just respond like, if anything that can help me grow to be better, you want to do that. You obviously want to be better. You want to win. At the end of the day, I want to close business. So help me and I'll help the company. Like I'm going to close more deals if you help me, if you see something that I'm not doing right. So I think that helped me a lot was being an athlete, being willing to take that constructive criticism. That helped me a lot.
I completely agree. Everything you just said, I'm like, yes, like when I want to know like what I'm doing wrong because I want to be better like all the
Yep.
time. Like I just want to be the best I can be. So
Yep.
when everything you were saying, I was like, yes, I feel it. I feel it all.
Yep.
So for someone who is watching this, what are the steps they should take to be in your role, or what advice would you give them if they want to do something like what you're doing?
Um, I would say it's always worth just reaching out, send a note. You never know, like ask for 15 minutes of someone's time. If you see a role you really want, send them a message on LinkedIn, send them a note on Twitter, Instagram, DMs. Find a way to get a hold of them because most of the time they're going to see you being persistent. They're going to say, all right, like I do want to give 15 minutes of this time because this person is trying to make it, trying to break into the industry. I want to help them as much as I can. Um, so that's what I would say is show that you're how much you really want it. Like, do you really want this job? Um, I think that's what will make you stand out. If you see a job on Pivot's website or even anywhere, if I worked, I saw a lot of connections NASCAR with within the esports and gaming industry. Like I have connections, and if someone sees a post like, "Hey, are you willing to make an intro for me?" I ask for intros all the time. Hey,
Mhm.
you know this person at XYZ brand, like, are you willing to make a warm intro for me? It's networking, like goes back to truly networking. Um, and speaking up like, hey, I want this role. I think I'll be a great fit. I want this experience. Can you help me? So I think reaching out like is really key. And then once you're in the door, just work, go above and beyond your job description. Like if you're an intern doing this, do this and that. Like it show that you're willing to go above and beyond. And do there was something when I was an intern is the small things matter. Like someone taught me everything, emails, like reread it, proofread. And in my head, I always like overthought my emails. I'm like, wait, I don't feel confident sending this.
Yeah.
But it also taught me to look at all the small details because details matter. It makes things look good. Does your email look good? Like if you're an intern and you're asked to put together list all the brands that are spending with Magic Gaming or within the NBA. Make that list look good because when you send that to the boss, they're going to be impressed. It's not just like these bullet points. Like make it look good. Go above and beyond. Because my boss taught me like those small details matter. It just elevates your presence.
Yeah.
Um, so I've always been kind of like when people send me a PowerPoint, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many typos. Oh my gosh, like the formatting is off because she just drilled into my head, make sure everything looks good. Like when it looks good, it feels professional. Whoever's seeing it, receiving the content, they don't have to be distracted by typos or something that doesn't look good. And then another thing that always just sat with me as an intern at NASCAR, we interviewed a bunch of executives, and one of them, this always sticks with me, is just authenticity is key. And people can feel when you're being authentic. And I always felt it as like early in my career, I can feel when someone's being authentic.
Yeah.
And so it always like rang with me, like, I want to be authentic in whatever I'm doing. Um, so that's always kind of stuck with me is just like being your true self, um, working hard, obviously, and going above and beyond. So
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. I gotta ask about your time in NASCAR real quick. Okay, because I will say for me, before I started covering NASCAR, before I got into this, I was always just watching it on TV. And then when I got there to Daytona, it's like a whole nother level of
yeah,
energy. And I always tell people NASCAR is like the one sport that tricks you. Like it's not as fun unless you're there. Like
yeah,
when you're there at at the race, It is the best thing ever. It is so loud. It is so cool. So, like, did you have, like, fun experiences where you were like I guess in the
Mhm.
beginning, like, did you kinda know what you were getting yourself into, and then getting there, you were like,
Not
"Oh,
at
this
all.
is kinda neat."
It was so fun. My first race when we were intern, it was the first weekend, like, on the job, they flew us to Charlotte,
Oh, nice.
and, we went to our first race there. We met, Danica Patrick and Bubba Wallace, and at that
Okay.
time, Bubba Wallace wasn't as big as he is now.
Right.
He was in the diversity on the driver's side, the diversity program on the driver's side. It was called Rev Racing, and, he was a racing driver. Um, so we got to meet these drivers, and then it was a truck race we watched first, and I'm like, "What? This is
Yeah.
so cool." Like, my dad was he's a motorhead. He loves working on vehicles. And I'm like texting him, like, Dad, you need to come to a NASCAR race. It's so cool. So yeah, the experience there. And then as I evolved into like a full-time role on the brand side, they're always entertaining big celebrities. So you are gonna, if you're in the pits, I ran into J. Cole, I ran into Michael
Aw,
Jordan, and I'm like,
same.
this is so it's just so cool the status of people that attend these NASCAR events. You don't really get that on TV because I don't watch it on TV, but the fans don't really care about that. Like, not that I cared about it, but it was cool to see it in person, the amount of people that are taking it in and getting the same experience that I did. Like, hey, this is cool. It feels cool. It's loud. Like, just to see a vehicle go that fast and these drivers get in these cars and they're going that fast with 40 other drivers near them. Like that, it's just so cool. The experience at track is way better.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's so true, like, the viewers don't really get to see who's all inside the pit and, like, sometimes who's on the, like, sides, so, like, you could be walking by and you're seeing just every famous person in the
Yeah.
world, football players, I mean,
Especially for
singers,
the 500. Oh,
artists.
the 500 is loaded
Oh, the
with people.
500? That is Hollywood at a racetrack. It's just insane, and my first time covering one, I was like, "Where are we?"
Yeah.
It it's so cool, and I just thought that's one sport where I feel like if you're not actually there, you have
Mhm.
no idea how, like, NASCAR's supposed to go until you're there, like, that's when
Yeah.
you're supposed to feel it.
I think everyone should attend a race.
You have
Talladega is
to.
also a great one. I mean, they
Yeah.
all have that. Just experience one will be cool. Like for everyone, I think they should at least attend one NASCAR race.
Yes, 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 I completely agree. I'm sorry to get off topic on that one. I was just like, I gotta ask her. I was like, we gotta talk about NASCAR because it's so intense.
Yeah,
So
we took
one
my
thing
daughter
that
last year for the first time, and she was 2 years old at the time, and I'm like, she's ready. Like, we're just gonna take her. And we did the duels like before the
okay.
500. I did not dare
Yeah.
take her on the day of 500, but she loved it,
Did she?
loved it, and she didn't even understand. Like, I'm here trying to see like network and see my old coworkers. She just wanted to sit and watch the race and hear the cars. Like we had the little earmuffs on her. She
Yeah.
loved it. She loved the fast cars, so that was cool.
That is cool. That's really neat. So one thing that we do is we do talk about mental health and just kind of bring more awareness to it. So can you just talk a little bit about how important mental health is in your industry and what you have done possibly to, just find ways to uh, get through your job and be able to do this in the best way possible.
Yeah, I mean, and that's important now. I've been a mom for 3 years, and that's honest. So that's what took me. I had to take a break, a
Mm,
mental health break after I had my daughter. I had my daughter December 2020, and um, you know, though I working moms are phenomenal. Every working mom out there, I'm just good. Kudos to you. Um, So I did it for a year. I stayed with the Magic for a year after she was born, but it's just hard, like game day, just the mental workload of a new mom, you're a new person. I needed a break. So it became even more important for me to learn like healthy habits
mm,
um, as I transitioned from mom. Before that, just being an athlete, my natural way of kind of decompressing, taking, a load off of work was to go and run. Go and run, go and work out. That's how it was a healthy outlet for me was working out. Like my body felt better. But So, pre-mom world, the mental health part of it was just working out, like having a workout routine, eating healthy. It was easy for me to eat healthy and work out before being a mom.
Yeah.
Once I became a mom in the role that I was in, which is a sales role, it's hard. Like sales is hard. It's a grind. It's a mental grind. And then from the Magic, you have to, go to the games, entertain, you know, brands and prospects at the game. So it just, it was rough. So that's honestly why I took a step back from the Orlando Magic. There was no reason other than that why I needed a break. And it wasn't fair. Like I didn't feel like I could be both a good salesperson and a good mom at the time. I truly needed that break. And that's what I had told UT, like, this is just the time I need to be a mom.
Mm.
And it hurt me. It pained me to
Mm.
take a pause on my career. It was not an easy decision whatsoever. But I felt like I was failing at both ends. I'm like, no, I need to take care of me. I need to adjust to being this new mom. And I did it. I did it for 4 months, and I'm so grateful that I did it. And during that time, I just had to like what's important to me. My that was new. What was important to me was my daughter, but I also miss working. The other part of me was I love my career. I put in so many hours and hard work and memories into what it was like 8 years of my career. I didn't want to just give it up, but I did need that time to just reset, think about all that. What do I truly like? And how can I balance this all? How can I balance working and being a mom? It does take a village. I know everyone hears that. I didn't have a village in Orlando. Like my family's not from there. My husband's family's not from there. So it took a lot more work to find my village and what my support system. My family would move any day if they could because they love her and they love, helping me, but that's just not the reality we live in. We were very much like long distance. They come when they can. We take trips there, they come here. But I just had to kind of think and set myself up for my next step. I didn't want to go longer than 4 months. So about 3 months, 2 months in, I was like, okay, like what's next? Like I need something that's a little more flexible, to where I maybe work remote and then pivot. So it's a funny story. The same guy who hired me at Optic hired me at Pivot. He
Oh,
reached
no
out
way.
when I was at the Magic. He reached out to me. He said, "Hey, like, I want to hire you here at Pivot." And I was like, "One, I don't know who Pivot is. I don't know what you guys do. I'm very happy at the Magic, so chill out."
Yeah.
Um, and we just always stayed in touch. Like we became good friends, and um, he saw that I took a break. He's like, "Hey, I saw you take a break." I'm like, "Pause. I'm taking a break. Give me a few months." And then after the few months, I reached back out to him. I'm like, "Hey, like, are you guys still looking for someone in this role?" And it was to sit on the esports and gaming team. And I said, "I'm ready. I think with my experience from Optic, obviously him and I worked together at Optic." Um, so I explored and I really vetted the company and I said, "Hey, like, number one, what's important to me is if I have to go and be a mom, that comes first. That is my number one right now." And they were all on board with it. It's a small agency, but they said, "Hey, we're parents too. We're family oriented. We get it. We want your experience." And so I felt comfortable going back to work. It was kind of just perfect timing. And the fit, it was fully remote. I said, "Hey, I'm not moving to California. Like, just we're starting this interview, but let me just be transparent. I am staying in Orlando. Like my husband's
Yeah.
here. This is where we're putting roots down." And so I just felt good about that, and I had the support system. But even as I transitioned from Pivot, when I started in Pivot, um, it still took time to adjust to going back to work, and especially in a sales role where you have to grind. You have to send out a lot of notes and calls to build your pipeline. And then I just had to find balance. So my outlet is still working out. That's what I
Yeah.
need to start my day, to feel good, take an hour for myself. That mental health is so important. I needed it. So the only time I could fit it in my day was at 5 a.m. Like
Mm.
So, and that's what I did. I sacrificed an hour or 2 hours of sleep, but it made me feel better. It made me a better mom, makes me a better, salesperson at work. Like my mind is there when I'm, ready to get to work. And then when I have to, when I'm done with work and I have to turn on mom mode, I don't feel as like drained. I have energy to, you know, be there for her and be a good wife and all that, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a lot of work
Yeah.
being a working mom. But
Do you
the important thing is like finding what helps you mentally. Like you do need to take care of yourself, and taking care of myself it was working out, taking an hour for myself and like just getting in the gym.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you kind of brought something that came up to my mind. Do you ever feel like in the sports industry that women have a little bit more of a pressure to always be successful or to do something and can't stop because it's like if we do stop, we're our next counterpart part is gonna, come
Yeah.
up ahead of us. Do you ever feel like that's a kind of a pressure with women in sports?
Oh God, and that's why I was terrified to take a break. I'm like, I don't
Mm.
want to get behind. I don't want to
Yeah.
like anyone to look at this gap on my resume and say like, why did you stop? Why did you stop working? But I think, and I've seen a lot more women just empower each other to it's okay, take that break. That break doesn't that you're working probably 10 times as harder when you're full-time mom, like because it's so hard. It's hard work. But yeah, I do feel it. Whenever like she gets sick or something, I feel that in my gut. I'm like, I wish it was like I just don't feel good, but no, like my daughter's sick. I'm the primary, caregiver. Not that my husband's not, but she wants mama. Like, I'm mom and um so I do feel that like, oh, like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to I have to take the sick day. My husband doesn't. I have to take the sick day. So I'm like one day behind on doing outreach, doing, getting leads in the pipeline. So I do. I definitely feel that pressure. And I don't know if I don't know if the managers see that. I think it's just how we feel. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
we put that
Mhm.
own pressure on ourselves sometimes. Because I don't think my manager views me like that. I view myself like that. I almost like put myself into this like, oh, like you're not good enough, and that's not true. But we do that to ourselves a lot of the time. Like we put added pressure on ourselves because we don't see dads having to take time off. Yes, they do, but my husband doesn't take a sick day when
But
her she's sick.
yeah. No, yeah, it's true, and so that's what it was so interesting when you were talking about the mental health aspect. I was thinking, I was like, we put pressure on ourselves in this industry to always
Yeah,
be the best, and it is internally mainly, I mean, I can talk to all of my bosses and they'll be like, "You're doing great," and I'm like, "Am I? Am I really doing great though? Like, I could be doing more."
I know, I know,
It's so interesting how, you know, we feel like we have to do that a little bit.
I know. We're in our own heads.
We are. We very much so are. But Antoinette, this was amazing chatting with you. I could literally ask you questions all day, but I will not take up all of your time. But before we let you go, is there any way that viewers can connect with you on any type of your social media platforms?
Yeah, I mean, you can connect on me on Twitter. LinkedIn is probably the best though. I'm always on LinkedIn, so you can add me there, send me a message. Um, so yeah, LinkedIn is the best. And thank you guys so much for this time. Thanks for Gabe and Abner getting this set up. I love Gabe. Gabe, I miss working besides him. So shout out to Gabe for reaching out to me just to chat. But this is good. I'm excited to see this go live and yeah, it was good getting to know you. I need to get to the Magic game. I went last season. I haven't gone this season yet. I need to get me and my daughter, my husband out there because it's
There you go.
exciting. They're doing so good right now.
Yeah, they are. And you can just feel the energy, especially talking with Jonah last time. He just is like the energy he has for this team and just working for them and wanting the best for them. They got something special cooking up over there. It's
They do.
pretty.
They're a fun group to watch too.
Yes. Well, this has been another edition of Magic Gaming Esports Academy webinar series presented by Florida Blue. Thank you for watching and don't forget to follow the magic.